Hi, welcome back to Beyond the Bookings podcast. This is Rachel with Elevate with Rachel K. And today I've got Miss Sara Matuszak. I feel like I always pronounce your name wrong.
You can pronounce it however you'd like.
Okay,
it's fine.
Sara M. And we are going to be talking about she's got a really interesting niche in the travel industry. And she is like the go-to expert for celiac travel, which... let's do a little bit of backstory. She and I met, was it 2020 or 2021? It was like around the COVID.
Yeah, I bet it was 2020.
So we actually connected in like a destination wedding vendors group. And I was building up my vendors list. And she was a photographer and videographer. And she just focused on destination weddings. We worked together on a few weddings. She was probably my top referral for like a US based photographer. Loved working with her. And then she's like, I need to get into travel full time and I want to do weddings. So she was actually my first mentee for destination wedding planning. And she completely pivoted her niche, which I do tell you all, if you want to change niches, you can, but she still does weddings, but she has a huge focus on celiac travel because she saw the need when she and I were working together. She'd be like, how gluten-free or celiac-friendly is this resort that I'm going to for this wedding? And I'm like, I don't know. They say they've got the little wheat thing next to menu items, so should be fine. And I didn't understand the severity of, what is it called? I got glutened.
Yeah, getting glutened. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was just like, good luck. And there was one wedding we did where you were like, I'm not even going to that property. I'm staying off site and coming on because I know this other resort's gluten-free and celiac friendly, but that one, I will get sick.
That was a wedding I double booked. Do you remember? I stayed on resort technically. I had a room booked, but we didn't even sleep there. We slept at the resort next door.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
That was also the one where you found out their catamaran was canceled before anyone else did.
Yeah.
You messaged me on WhatsApp. And I was like, what? That was a nice group, though.
It was a great time. Yeah.
So tell me why you decided to, obviously I've already expressed like there is a need in the industry for this and you have the experience and background. Why should another travel advisor maybe consider having the skills to manage celiac families or groups?
Okay, well, that's like a really multi-pronged question, and I have a lot of answers to it. But I would say, first of all, your client base has allergies, whether they tell you or not. Like, even if you have 10 clients, somebody has an allergy somewhere. So your client base has allergies already. It's really important that you're able to serve them and serve them well because, of course, like being safe and being able to eat while you are abroad or at somebody's wedding or what have you is really important. And if you don't do a good job serving those clients, they're not going to come back. So first of all, it's a good thing. It's a good skill to have just in general and in terms of taking care of your clients and really good client customer service. But I will also say that people who have, especially an autoimmune disorder, they tend to we call it collecting. So they tend to collect more other autoimmune disorders as time goes by. I think on average, they say we get a new one every 10 years or so. And a lot of autoimmune disorders are related to dietary restrictions. And so like if you are celiac, 10 years from now, you and I might talk and you might also now have lupus or, something else. And with each one of those, they come with their own set of dietary restrictions. So just because somebody has allergies or a restriction now doesn't mean that they'll ever, first of all, grow out of it. They won't. Second of all, they'll probably gather more. So it's a good idea that you, as an agent, at least are open to the idea of serving people well and being aware of the different things that people with restrictions need. Because if you're not even aware, then you can't serve them well. You're not going to gain their trust, and then they're probably not going to come back to you. So especially this is important, I would say, with brides and grooms, of course, because you don't want them to be sick on their wedding day or during their honeymoon. But if you have wedding guests that come to you and you handle their allergies really, really well, I bet I mean, probably 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back to you because they've had such a great experience. And they're like, wow, this person knows how to handle my allergies. And that's not even what I was looking for. I was just a wedding guest, but I stumbled upon them and now they'll just keep coming back and coming back and coming back. So you can certainly develop a really great loyal following if you specialize in something like this and you do it well. So there's a very fine line between doing it well and doing it terribly. And if you are not doing it well, and you are doing it terribly, and you're only putting in like half the amount of effort, or you aren't fully understanding everything, or you are not fully advocating and you're not following through, then you'll very quickly lose the trust of your travelers that have a restriction. And then they won't come back to you and they'll tell everybody they know, don't go to this person because they were terrible. So that line is very fine. And it's very much a flip from completely terrible to completely amazing. There's not really a middle ground very much. So if you can be awesome and amazing, you'll rock it and it'll only help your business.
Right. And it's also, I would say, if for me, I probably get 1 or 2 major food allergies for every single wedding. There's like 1 or 2 guests that has an allergy. And it's almost always one of them is gluten celiac. And then another one is like I've had sunflower seeds put down on a dinner form. And I'm like, I mean, there's no sunflower, but maybe sunflower oil, but I just send it on to the resort so that they're at least aware. Now, I think there's a huge difference between like telling someone, oh yeah, my whatever training portal for a resort brand says that they have gluten-free options, so they'll take care of you. Whereas you could be more professional about it and be like, I understand the risks, even if you don't have the experience, and just say like, these are some things that you can look for. I can't guarantee this because I don't own the property and I'm not familiar with this dietary restriction, but I do see on the menus they have XYZ, but you do need to be more proactive. That would be like bare minimum if you don't know what you're doing and you end up with somebody that's got a major food allergy. But to say, oh yeah, the resort told me in some random training that they're great with it, and then not give that service, that's where you'd really get the bad feedback. Because
I think some resorts are really good about creating a false security, especially for people who go and visit, like just agents who don't have any allergy or restriction. They go and they visit and they say, oh, well, they asked me at every single meal, every single time I sat down, they asked me if there were allergies. People might be really impressed by that. But don't be too impressed by that if they're not actually following through, right? There's a difference between if they're asking and if they actually understand. And if they're asking, they might just be asking to ask because they know that they're supposed to. Does that mean, like, if you tell them, hey, I can't have shellfish, does that mean that they understand what shellfish are? Do they even know what a shellfish is? Or do they just think it's any product from the sea, right? Or I've had the personal experience of going to the Dominican Republic and saying that I'm celiac and that I have a gluten allergy. Usually is a good way to explain it. And they'll be like, oh, there's no milk in this. Well, I can eat milk. So if there's milk, that's fine. But gluten, no. So even just saying something along those lines, like if they just mention something, it's not always a good indicator. Actually, I would say it's one thing that like it goes for me in one ear and out the other because it doesn't make any difference. I want to see like, how do they actually do it? How do they actually make the food? How do they actually prepare it? And how do they prevent that cross-contamination? That's the important part to me. But if an agent comes to the table and they say, oh, I have some clients and they have allergies and I want to know like what a good option is. And you're saying, and like right here in this moment, you're saying, oh, just make sure that there's something on the menu and that's a good bare minimum. I would agree that it's a bare minimum, but you put also, there's a lot of other steps that agents can take to even just get some more feedback from the resorts and at least get a, let's say like a better pulse on a situation without having to go and travel there.
Right. And like when they take your allergies or dietary restrictions, when you go to the hostess stand at these restaurants, is that even being passed on to the kitchen? Or is that just a note for liability? Well, yes, you have this shellfish allergy or you're celiac, but you intentionally ordered this pasta with shrimp, like the shrimp scampi. So not our problem. Like, what if that's like the hostess isn't going to go back to the kitchen for every single allergy either.
So true.
Kind of like a record. And it maybe provides a peace of mind. and then they'll have the little icons on all the menus, but that still doesn't explain a little further about cross-contamination so travelers can understand.
Well, a really good layman's term explanation would be to think of it like glitter. Think of whatever the allergen is like glitter, because we all, if anyone is listening and they have kids, you understand that you have glitter in like on one art project that comes home from school in September, and you're still finding it, but like in your bathroom behind the toilet in July, right? Like
it's the herpes of the craft world.
It's terrible. Yeah. So along those same lines, let's think of, we're going to use gluten as an example because that's just what I know best, and it just rolls off the tongue easier for me. So let's say that gluten is the glitter, and I know that I can't have any gluten. I can't have any gluten cross-contamination. I can't have bread, of course, but I can't have anything else beyond that, like bread that might be gluten-free bread that might be cut on the same cutting board as a regular piece of gluten bread, right? Like something along those lines.
Or even the same knife used to slice the bread.
Or even the same knife to cut the bread is right. So it could be any level of cross-contamination at any point in time in the process of storing the food, making the food, serving the food.
Okay, could it be as severe as, let's say there's a server who just happens to like pick up a piece of bread to garnish a plate, for example, back in the kitchen before taking it out, didn't have time to wash their hands, and then picks up like the butter, the little foil wrapped butter pats for your dish and just puts it on there, and then you opening the butter pat with that? Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You could consider that. I have some clients who, it's not so much for myself, but I have some clients who they maybe are going like on their honeymoon and their spouse is gluten eating and maybe they're gluten free, but they will have their spouse be fully gluten free for the week so that they can kiss and be together. And then there's no cross contamination through that, which is interesting.
Oh, that's crazy. So
so there's all these other places that it could come from, right? Like it could come from the kitchen. It could come from somebody's hands. It could come from all over the place. Mm-hmm.
Wash your hands. Okay. Got it. Well, I advocate that. Like anytime anyone's like, I had the worst food poisoning, and it's like one out of a group of 60, it's like, do you wash your hands? Because that's probably what it was.
Or from the buffet. I feel like the buffets are the common offenders.
I don't trust the buffets.
Yeah.
I do like I remember going to Atelier, I was like, I would rather just do room service for breakfast over the buffet because I'm like, danger, I don't know who's cleaning or touching all this.
They have good room service too. So that's not a sacrifice at all. That's great.
Yeah. So okay. How severe can the term "I got gluten" become? Can it like completely debilitate a guest? Like
sure can.
Is it like severe food poisoning type of?
It can be. Everybody's a little bit different. So there are some, and I shouldn't just talk about celiacs here. I should kind of talk about anyone with an allergy, but any sort of reaction, could range from. Like if you have just an intolerance, you might just get a headache, or you might just have like a really foggy kind of fuzzy brain. I know that's, I would say, a more common sort of intolerance reaction. It could also be something like a rash, or of course, probably everybody who's listening understands anaphylaxis. So it could be an anaphylactic reaction where their airway kind of closes up and they need to have an EpiPen if they come into contact with whatever that allergen is. But I do have clients, it's not me specifically, but I have clients who will be sick for months after they've been glutened. So it's certainly something that is a concern while you're there on vacation, because who wants to be sick when you're on a trip, right? First, like nobody wants to be sick. But then if you're sick for months after, and it's literally life altering, like you'll have to take time off of work, you have to do a lot of extra doctor's appointments, you're usually really, really tired beyond being sick. It's just a massive headache to do, to kind of take care of yourself afterwards. So there's a lot of things to consider, but definitely it's not just like a quick, I would say food poisoning is probably the more mild side of things. That's more mild in terms of reactions, and you'll feel better after a few days with food poisoning. Whereas with some sort of like a celiac induced reaction, you might be sick for months and months. If you have anaphylactic reaction, then of course, like you might have to end up at the ER. You have epi, so you're kind of feeling really gross for a couple of days afterwards. There's a whole variety of different reactions and just kind of depends on the person.
So you've really carved out a pretty successful travel business, niching down into like adding the niche of, I know you don't just do straight celiac, like, but that is the huge bulk of your business. Do you require all of your clients to carry travel insurance with medical coverage?
No, I don't care if they do or not. That's their choice.
Okay.
I mean, I advise, but I don't require it.
Okay.
It's certainly something that is discussed, but you also have to be like, I recognize that I'm not an insurance broker, and so I can't advise people specifically on the parts of the plan that probably they really would need to know. So I do encourage people to have a workflow that goes out to every single client before they open the proposal that I send them for their trip. Or even for like wedding guests, they also see the same thing. And it will specifically say, hey, if you don't want the insurance, that's like, if you don't opt in to the insurance that is in this proposal, which what's in the proposal is always whatever is part of like the room block or the supplier option. So if they don't opt for that, then I always link a couple of other just like affiliate links that I have for 2 other travel insurance companies that I work with. And I specifically will say in there that, like, you know, you need to look into the specifics of this plan, and that the cancel for any reason can only be applied in certain situations and usually only for the first 21 days. I would highly recommend, if anyone is kind of really interested in the answer to this question and they're thinking for themselves, like, hey, wait, that's something that I might want to consider, I might want to know more about, talk to your BDMs from your different insurance companies, because I know, like, even for me in the last 4 or 5 months, I've had a couple of conversations with BDMs for both of the insurance companies that I work more closely with, the ones that I recommend. And I have a general idea of, this is the window of time that somebody can book the insurance, or like after they booked a trip, they can buy the insurance and it will still cover pre-existing conditions, because sometimes allergies could be argued that they are pre-existing conditions. So
Right.
I advise on nothing. I provide the links. I'm knowledgeable in it for myself and also just to know, because I think it's good to know. But if somebody would come to me and ask, I would say, here's the number you have to call the insurance company, because I am not a licensed insurance broker and I cannot answer that question.
I think that's just a really good workflow to have in general, because like, even with my weddings, I have no idea if someone has a pre-existing condition, but I do the same thing where I'm like, you have this window of time to get your room booked and add this insurance, or it may not be covered. Because, you know, with weddings, you get grandparents and sometimes parents a bit older and aunts and uncles. And then they're like, oopsie, I have kidney disease and have had it for 15 years or something crazy. And you're like, none of this is going to help you. So, but also call the insurance company. And that's, we're getting into it, totally digressing.
That's a good question though, because
kind of like,
especially for health insurance, I think it's really important that people know that they have options for a primary health insurance option. And it doesn't have to be secondary, but again, I can't really advise them on that. So I tell people, hey, there are options out there, and there are some included in the companies that I have linked. I can't tell you which ones they are. You have to go, dig through and find it yourself, but I know they're in there.
You have to, I just sent an invoice for a wedding guest. He called me out of the blue and was like, I need help, da-da-da-da-da. I forgot to even ask him about insurance. So I sent him the invoice with the insurance information. And I was like, by the way, we didn't discuss this. So if you want, go click the green link in the blue paragraph. But go ahead and approve this invoice. And we have 3 weeks to get it taken care of, or 2. I like to tell them 2 if they want me to help, because you never know with our, like, what if there's a doctor's appointment or something comes up in our lives. So that being said, I think you are the only travel advisor that has as much knowledge on celiac, dietary restrictions, food allergy travel. Sidebar, everybody, she was a nurse before she was a photographer, so she has a medical background too. She's not fooling around. She's awesome. Anyway, so you have created this training program
Yeah, I have a course.
Yeah. Is it like, how intensive is the course? Like, how long would it take someone to complete this?
Well, it depends on how much time you have to commit to it. So the course itself is 14 modules, and they'll grow here in a little while. I have a couple of other ideas kind of in the pipeline, but as of now, it's 14 modules. I've made the modules as short as I can. I am not a person like I love a good podcast while I'm in the car, but you're not going to catch me watching an 8-hour course. Like there is no time in my life to watch an 8-hour course. I'm a mom of kids who are in elementary school and doing all the clubs. I have a husband who's busy and works all the time. I have a dog who's like a toddler. I have this business. Oh, that text message you probably just heard, that's my husband. Also like just trying to navigate all the things. So I am the manager of my house. I am the breadwinner. I am the doctor's appointment taker. I'm all the things. So you won't catch me doing an 8-hour course for myself. So the course that I have has 14 modules. They're short. Each one has a little video that's just an intro. Every single one of those videos, I believe, is less than 3 minutes. For sure, it's less than 5 minutes. I worked hard at kind of really keeping those short because, again, nobody wants to sit and listen to a whole podcast for every single chapter.
Right.
I have an entire workbook. It's the playbook that goes with it. And so within that playbook, again, there's this 14 chapters. There's a couple of things at the beginning, some stuff at the end, but 14 like really meaty parts. And you can go through those as quickly or as slowly as you want to. I have it basically, it was made with the idea in mind that you're going to start at 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 14. And you're just going to get a general idea of what you're doing. And then you're going to circle back and come back and do the homework for each one, which it's linked, or I just give you ideas of what to do. It's supposed to be a course that's not supposed to take you months. Hopefully, the feedback that I've gotten so far is that people can get it done within a couple of weeks, just doing a little, like while they're making dinner, they can listen to one. I also have a lot of resources in the resource section of the course. And those resources are literally copy and paste things that I've used for my own clients, or I've taken them into Canva and I've taken off my branding and I've just made them white label so that anyone else can use them. And so the idea with that is that you could purchase the course, use those resources the same day. And that's the type of person that I am when I purchase a course. Yeah. I want my hands on something that I can implement immediately while I'm, first of all, still motivated. Second of all, still have that time. Third of all, it's fresh in my mind. I'm like an ADHD person with all of my hands and all of the things. And so if I am carving out time for something, I want to have like a tangible something to show for that time that I've carved out. So those resources are meant to be copy and paste. There are plenty of resources in there that you could modify for something else. So for example, one of them is like a snack guide. And I believe the one that's in the course is my gluten-free snack guide. But basically, I have like a 1-pager that I send to my clients. It's part of a workflow. So whenever my clients come to me, if they have a dietary restriction, they're put into a specific workflow. So they'll get let's say somebody's going to Jamaica. They'll get all the emails for Jamaica. They'll get all the resort specific emails. That's a second workflow. And then if they're celiac, they're going to get a third workflow added on top, which is like the celiac workflow. As part of that celiac workflow, I'll walk them through what options do you have in the airport? What options do you have from the resort? Blah, 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 whatever. And then I include in that a link to a snack guide. And that just gives them good ideas of, hey, maybe I do want to bring my own gluten-free cookies, or maybe I want to take some protein bars with me, or whatever it might be. And so you could take that gluten-free snack guide that I give you in the course, and you could just duplicate it on Canva and make it a dairy-free snack guide, and then toss in some dairy-free snack ideas.
You just give me the idea of like, what if you are Jewish and you want to promote travel for Jewish, you could do a whole thing on kosher, just using your workflows and modifying.
Yes, there's a section in my course that's about religious considerations as well. So kosher is covered in there.
Okay. And you could do like kosher, halal, like there's so many different ways you can do this. It's not just for people wanting to learn about celiac. So that's really cool that you provide all those resources. And I like looking at videos. I'm over like 2 years ago, you'd buy a course and it's like 45 minutes of, hey girl, anyway, let me read this slide deck to you. And I have no other input. And it's just like, I read this. Come on.
Yes. Yes, my videos are short and they are not me just reading off of the playbook. You can read the playbook on your own time. If you have questions, then you're welcome to answer me, or welcome to email me, but you won't find me repeating myself because first of all, that's stupid. Why would I read that out loud? You're not a toddler. You can read it yourself. And second of all, your time is more valuable than that. So you can read it. And then if you want to see my face, it was a day that was actually over a whole weekend that I like kicked my family out of my house and I recorded a whole bunch of videos. And if you want to see me in a peaceful setting, that is the place to do it in the video. And if you don't, skip it. That's fine.
Exactly. Like I tell, like at the beginning of videos, I'm like, hey, if you don't want to watch this video, just read the text and download the worksheet. Like I don't care. And I can't do 3 minutes, 5 minutes like you did. I do sometimes get like 15, 20 minutes and I'm like, this is too long because I love that you've got your course set up that way.
I will add that the course itself is not specifically set for celiac travel. It is set for anything with food allergies. The name of the course is Food Allergy Travel Experts Playbook. And so it doesn't have to just be if somebody is looking for celiac information or they have a client who's celiac, it could be any sort of dietary restriction, whether that's religious, whether it's something like alpha-gal, which is basically like a mammal protein allergy. It could be somebody is coming to you and they say, I can't have any nightshades. And you're like, what does that mean? I don't understand.
Tomatoes. No tomatoes.
Yeah. That one is hard. That's a hard one, I think, for me specifically. Not to find resorts that do it, but to eat nightshade free. That's hard for me.
That would be really hard for me because tomatoes, eggplants, arm peppers, nightshades too. You can't go to Mexico. You can't have any salsa. What are you talking about?
It's a lot of good flavors. That's the flavor family.
I know.
Yeah.
Also, interestingly enough, nightshade has very, very small trace amounts of nicotine in them.
Interesting.
Like the tiny, like nothing that could cause an addiction. But now I'm like, I didn't know people had nightshade allergies. That's crazy. My dad did have an allergy for like 6 months to like everything but red meat and potatoes.
Huh.
He was just swelling up like a fish every night and breaking out in hives. And he's like, I should probably go to the doctor after 3 months of it. And they did an allergy test and they were like, sir, you're allergic to everything but beef and potatoes. And he's like, steak and potatoes, great. And so after 6 months, they reintroduced other foods and he was fine. I'm waiting for that to happen to me though. I'm waiting to just like swell up and be like, I'm allergic to everything. It's crazy. So do you see that food allergy will become more and more common with travelers, or do you see it kind of like plateauing?
I mean, I think that there's no world that it doesn't continue being more and more something like that we're more and more aware of. I think it goes along with just in general, we're all learning a lot more about ourselves and we have a lot of access to health technology and health information. So as our society continues to evolve like that and be really like tech forward, then I think that of course we're going to find more things like this. I was actually just talking to a client the other day about DNA testing, and she did some DNA testing, and she was telling me like, hey, I did this test and it was reviewed by some company and this is like what they do. And they're saying that I do best with like low protein options, but not a no protein option. And so she's like, well, I was eating high protein because that's what my trainer told me to do, but now I shouldn't do that according to my DNA. And like, I think that's a whole new thing. Like, I don't think it's something that we as agents can plan for, but I do think that you'll have those clients who become health conscious because they have gotten something like DNA testing done or some other version of technology where they're like, wait, shoot, I can't eat one thing. And that's the beauty, I think, of the course that I have, that it's not just for celiacs. It's not just for one specific type of allergy. It's any sort of dietary restriction. So somebody could be dietary restricted because of an allergy. They could be restricted because of their DNA. Like it could be anything in between that. And this, what I teach and like the ideas that you can gain from it can apply to all of that. So I don't think that this is something that's going away. It's only growing. And on top of it, you have people who have autoimmune disorders, like I was saying before, where they just kind of keep gathering more. So as they get older and older and like marched through time, then they had more restrictions. So even with existing clients, this is like two-prong approach, right? You have existing clients who are going to have more and more and more restrictions all in one person. And then the other side of things would be that we have more and more people who are becoming more aware of what they can and cannot eat or what they should or shouldn't eat. And so I think with both of those together, but definitely heading in the direction of just more clients who will need this type of attention
and care. And that's one of the many reasons why travel advisors are invaluable, because it's an extra level of knowledge and expertise. And yeah. I am 100% in agreement with you, because I'm obsessed with epigenetics and how your diet can trigger and turn on and turn off, like with the RNA transcription, like certain possibly autoimmune disorders, and exacerbate symptoms. And it's all like, oh, you need to only have 2 cups of coffee a day instead of 5. Like, you can have coffee, but you can't have this much coffee. And I think that's just a silly example. But I think that's also going to grow, especially as like DNA testing expands more and more, like you just said, like low protein, and like it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So do you have any kind of socials people could follow you on, or is it just like, here's my course and then I got my travel agency? I don't have time to entertain you in between.
Probably really both, honestly. So everybody can find me at Have Ring Will Travel. So that's that was my original business name, is Have Ring Will Travel, which then morphed into Have Celiac Will Travel, which is a DBA underneath it. But I use Have Ring Will Travel as my socials for everything, because it's just easier to have one versus 2 or 3. I was talking to another agent not that long ago about how I probably should start some socials for FATE, which is the Food Allergy Travel Experts Playbook stuff. But I'm not there yet. I do have an email list, and I will send things out there occasionally. But the best way to get in contact with me would be via email if you have like specific questions about things. I don't respond to Facebook messages on my personal or my professional account if I don't know you and you're not a client. So no Facebook messages. Email is the best way. My assistant can get back to you much quicker than I can that way. That's her domain, is most of my emails. And then, like I said, at Have Ring Will Travel is probably the best place to find me. I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. But again, don't message me on Facebook because I'm not getting back to you. Don't message me on Instagram because I won't get back to you.
I'm trying really on TikToks.
Yeah, well, TikTok is great. I've been doing pretty good on TikTok lately. I've been enjoying it, but I'm also a very low effort TikToker. So please don't come at me and say, boy, I'm not getting a lot of educational content from this, because of course you're not. I'm not. I don't have time for it. So you can find educational content though at my, like, I have a shop linked on my website, and it is haveringwilltravel.com/shop, SHOP. And that's where they can find things like the course. I also do one-on-one, kind of like a coaching situation. So if somebody says, hey, I have this really complicated client and I just don't know what to do, and I have your course, but I can't implement things because I don't even know which end is up, and it's just like really confusing, that would be a good option as well. You'll see there's a quick start guide in my shop as well, but the quick start guide is priced almost the same as the course. So you might as well just do the course because it's double the amount of content.
I mean, yeah. Why would you just get the course? All right. So I'll have all of those links in the description. Any other tips or tricks for travel advisors that are considering niching down more specifically with food allergy and dietary restrictions?
If it's specifically niching into something like this, I think that the absolute best thing that you can do is to get yourself to the resorts and test things out. Like, if you know that this is the direction that you want to go, make it your goal to be niched in this section maybe in 2 years, and spend as much time in the next 2 years as possible traveling to a lot of different places and always asking the same questions. I have a list of 30 questions people should be asking. It's in my course. But these are things like, they touch on cross-contamination. They touch on things like room service. They touch on things like giving you, the agent, a full picture of like what an experience would be at a resort. So There's a lot of really good information that you can gain when you ask those 30 questions. And I mean, I never ask all 30 at every single resort, or I'd be there for a whole week just at one resort. But you probably should go and ask these questions and do it in person. If you had to do it via email, that would be okay in a pinch, but you don't have a pinch. You have 2 years to work things out for yourself, become an expert, try things, go places, test these resorts, advocate at the resorts. So when you get there, say, I have a lot of clients or a lot of potential clients that could come here. How are you going to keep them safe? And kind of gather that sort of information. I would say if there's somebody who wants to niche down to a different area that's not specifically tied to dietary restrictions, my advice still stands. It is to get yourself there, travel, but do it in whatever that niche is. So say you want to do really like, I don't know, active sort of trips, then go, I don't know, go skiing off some cliff in Switzerland or something, and like get yourself to these places so that you can post about it on socials. You can send emails to your clients, that you have the personal experience. So when you're on phone calls or discovery calls with your potential clients, that you can show them that you've been there, and you're really, really knowledgeable and you're confident in what you're trying to sell. I would also say that in general, you probably need to take a step back. And this sounds terrible, but check yourself. So I think a lot of agents think like, oh, I know the best place to go. I know that this is good. I know that that is good. And these are like the 2 things I'm going to sell. If you're going to niche into anything, but specifically into dietary restrictions, you are going to have to cut a lot of resorts off of your list.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep people safe, at least. So knowing that like you might really, really love one resort, but if you're going to niche into something like a dietary restriction, odds are you might not be sending everybody to that resort. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's definitely an area where you have to really listen to the specific needs of a client, and you will have to pull it from a really, really large pool, like a larger pool than you probably do for your regular FIT clients. But then that large pool, it becomes very, very small super quickly as soon as they say dietary restriction. So not to say that I send my clients to the same places all the time. I don't. And I think that would be probably really boring for a lot of clients to go to the same place over and over. But there's a much smaller pool of resorts that I can recommend to any of my dietary restricted clients for sure.
Well, like you said, continuing to travel, like even 2 years in and you have your base of properties, resorts are always changing like constantly. So you never know when a property is going to go hard on dietary restrictions with their menus and totally revamp everything, get new chefs in, like probably about every 5 years. So I'd say on top of that, if you can swing it 2 years and then like every 2 years, just maybe look and check out if there's any new places. I'd also say if you're like a brand newbie and you're like, girl, I don't have the money to go on all these trips and I don't have any clients, like, but I really want to know this. You might have to cut back on how many trips you're taking in those 2 years, and you might have few offerings to have, but that doesn't mean you're not going to make any money. And you can also do a lot of connections with your BDMs with different resorts you're interested in, as well as their general training. But I would suggest if you can't do in person, definitely have some meetings with your BDM over and over again. Be like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. And they might be able to offer you like, oh, we have a last minute FAM that maybe you could swing.
Yeah.
But if not, they could be like, let me check with the management. And like I've had BDMs offer to bring in like the GM and the like F&B and like the wedding managers just to have a meeting with me to see if we're a good partnership.
Yeah, I would say my BDMs, in my experience, my BDMs have had zero help in helping me from home in getting answers about dietary restrictions. But once they have been helpful in getting me to these destinations, and then once I'm there, I'm able to find the people that I need to ask the questions of, or my BDM or whoever I'm there with on the FAM, they can try to pull the right manager or whatever, where I can talk to them about it. I would definitely say that if you can't, like if you're finding that it's really hard to get to Mexico and Jamaica and the Dominican all in the 1 year, or maybe you're working a full-time job and this is kind of like your side thing, then if you don't have a lot of vacation to use, or you already are planning on doing other things, I would go down for a long weekend, go for 3 or 4 nights and hit as many different resorts as you can. So that maybe you can say, hey, I went for 3 nights, but I visited 5 places. I interviewed the staff at 5 places. I stayed at one. I experienced their room service. I experienced their meal service. Try to go as hard as you can. Take no time for yourself during that trip and have it be like a full-on work trip.
Right.
And you'll come back with a lot more knowledge. In general, like I was just traveling in the Caribbean a couple of weeks ago, and however many years into this now where I'm really intensively talking to every time I go to a place, I'm like, hey, I specialize in dietary restrictions. I need to talk to you about the things you need to change. I literally every resort I go to. And it's been years of this. And I just had a really, really wonderful conversation with a GM a couple of weeks ago, and was basically like, hey, if you offer dairy-free cheese in your pizzeria, I could send even more clients here. Like I have clients who are just begging me for places that will have dairy-free cheese. It's simple as that. I just need some dairy-free cheese. And he was like, oh my gosh, that's all you need? Absolutely. We can do that. Just email me whenever you have a client coming. We will have dairy-free cheese on resort for them. Okay, easy as that. And that makes a whole nother resort that I can now offer to people. So those conversations don't happen over email. Usually
No.
they usually happen face to face.
Right. Right. I think that if I agree with that, just do one country, visit 5 or 6 places in 3 or 4 days. I totally agree with that. And you're right about in-person communication and like getting to know them and building that relationship with the people in destination at the resort is going to be a lot more helpful than simply just, hey, BDM can, like, yes, that can be helpful. And that is like a baby step. Like if you're just like, there's no way I can travel, that's the best you can do is your BDM hopefully connecting you. But you do have some good recommendations. So maybe like your first year, make the biggest portion of your investment in your business booking that trip to do all the sites.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this was a really good conversation. I learned a
I feel
lot.
like we barely scratched the surface. I'm over here ready to talk.
I could talk forever about nutrition, dietary restrictions, and like when you said dairy free, I was like, nutritional yeast. Is that what they would do? Is that what they're bringing in? I don't know. And I'm just like, I mean, I could go on and on about how important diet is. I'm not going to. I really want to just like vomit it out and be like, anyway. But yeah, we barely scratched the surface. But I think the food allergy course that you have would be very, very helpful for people who want to do deeper. And it's not a huge investment, correct?
Nope. Just a couple $100.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Yep.
One booking with someone that has a dietary restriction would pay it back.
Yep.
Worth it. All right. Well, I will have all of your links and stuff in the description. And thanks for joining me, Miss Sarah.
Of course. Always.
Sarah.
Anytime.
All right. Bye.